So a long time ago, I made this video about what I thought would be LOTRO's next zone based on some in-game hints and other leaks. Well, a little bit less than a long time ago, Brightlife Gaming made a video reacting to this video that I made. So today we will be changing things up, and I will be checking out his video on this, so let's get watching it.
Because there's a new LOTRO zone, apparently, and Louis talked about it, and so I wanted to watch this with you guys, if you guys don't mind. Apparently, he's got some info on the new zone. We talked about it the other night, and I want to see if we're right. We essentially said that it might be Harad, because I think that they said that if you look at the stable, like if we look at our stable masters map, and we zoom all the way out, that that Harad is not there's nothing there, and that's kind of seems to be their expansion direction. It is kind of, you know, we've got Mordor up here, but then if we go down, there's Harad, maybe to the east, but I'm really I'm interested in it, so it's gonna be cool. So I want to watch this video with you guys. I want to hear what you.
Okay, so that is true that I made a video on Harad, but that is completely different than the video he is about to watch. So this is the one on Harad, and it is about more of the next major expansion or region that they will expand to. Now the video at this point is definitely a little bit outdated, and ultimately Standing Stone Games has had a lot of different things in 2022 than expected, especially with a lot of lower level zones and no new area for like level cap content, and basically they have just continued into Eriador. So this video is a little bit different than the next zone, just some hints for upcoming content and expansion. So let's get back to Brightlife's video.
What do you guys think? I'll check Discord while we watch it, and then let's see if they yeah, I love that they're adding new zones for lower levels. I think they're smart because they know it takes a long time to get to these higher level zones. So what Meme said is true. Like the idea of adding zones for lower levels is really, really smart. Yeah, but let's watch it. Let's see what update 34 might bring us from the lore master of Lord of the Rings Online himself. I really appreciate Louis' content. So let's jump.
Crazy to be called a lore master, but it is true, as I think I talk about in this video. I think the low level content is great, but as even Standing Stone Games has admitted, they've left endgame content and level cap content a little bit dry, so it'll be interesting to hear his thoughts on that, because I believe I bring that up in the video. We may already know the next zone in the Lord of the Rings Online, just like with what happened with Yondershire. Man, my voice sounds weird. Recently, I have heard some people talking about the next zone in LOTRO being in the Grey Flood River region and including the town of Tharbad. So for anybody unfamiliar, the specific stretch of this river that we are talking about here is going to be west of the southern portion. Very briefly, do y'all like my previous setup that you see in the old video, or the new one better? Background in the current one still in progress. Of Eregion and west of Inedwaith. Presumably, such a zone would fill in at least part of this huge south road gap that we currently have in the game. I also should point out that we know a lot more about this zone. It has been confirmed that this is going to be the new region, what I am talking about. And before I get into the exact details of what we know compared to this video, let's continue watching. The whole
Wait, so he's saying that it's gonna be south of the Shire? Hold on. Let's just give me one second. So what he's saying is that we won't be expanding into Haradrim down here, that we might be expanding south of the Shire, which is really fascinating, actually. That's really fascinating.
Or southeast, but yeah.
Fascinating. I'm sorry, I don't mean to like just stop it, but just that sounds really fascinating. Okay.
From Breland to Inedwaith is not in the game. Something perhaps very appealing to some players is that if Standing Stone Games does this right, that is, it would be a perfect location for an alternative to Moria, where you can, for example, wrap up Eregion and then go to this potential zone that's west of southern Eregion and then straight to Inedwaith, never really having to enter Moria or Mirkwood for that matter even.
Interesting.
I still think that would be a great idea for the zone. So, why do we think this area is the next zone? Well, let's look at the evidence that is currently in the game right now.
Wait, so what do you guys think of that? That
instead of one of my editing transitions got missed there.
That instead of us getting like a higher level zone, kind of like what Meme was saying, that instead of going to Moria, you might go through this new zone instead, so you could bypass Moria. I think that's really fascinating. I don't know what I think about it because I've heard that Moria is one of the most beautiful zones in the game from a lot of you guys. I know that when I was younger, I didn't love Moria, but it was because I was scared of the dark.
Ooh, I didn't like Moria, but for different reasons. Mainly falling and not having fun there and not seeing the sun.
I don't know.
Nowadays, I do like Moria, though.
It's probably just me, and I was 13. You know?
I also do see a comment about, nope, it will be Southbury, and it will be between Southbury and Dunland, and that's like exactly what I said, so a little bit confused
give me a
there.
break. But like,
I actually think
I don't know.
face is hiding the comments on. He has his stream chat up for this, so my face is hiding that a little bit.
What do you guys think of that?
So how all this started was there is actually an invisible wall placed in the northwest Hobbit town in Endwaith, kind of randomly. The invisible wall blocked an NPC that people couldn't access, so later this was fixed.
Oops.
But really this whole fiasco with that, it made many players curious as to why that invisible wall just randomly appeared. That's happened too many times. And naturally, by pure coincidence, actually, I started leveling my minstrel in which may not be a bad thing,
rumblings.
And I, of course, just had to check this area out to see if there was anything suspicious. Well, after a bit of travel, I actually didn't really see much from the Endwaith side of things, but I went into southwestern Eregion. I do have too many characters. To the town of Marrable, Ekad Marrable, which just so happens to have a high elevation so you can look over the land from there. And let's go ahead and just check out my reaction for how the land to the west changed.
Okay.
Oh, wow. That is significantly different. You can see it's kind of funny. I haven't talked about this type of stuff too much or like reviewed my own videos, but it's kind of funny how just depending on my sitting position or whatever, how different the camera angle can look. And I also have no idea what's up with my hair. Is probably too long, which is its usual state. Totally different. It's just like giant mountains. And that's something I really did not remember what looking out to the west of Eregion looked like before. So I did not remember that there were like huge, basically mountains like that and that they were removed. That was pretty crazy. Significantly different. This is what used to be here. It is totally different. It's just like giant mountains were tucked away. So yes, these mountains versus there's the good old cat cams. Going to try to fix that.
So this is what it used to look like. It was just kind of.
And yeah, I get to this in the video a little bit more.
Oh, that's really good. That's really, really good evidence, actually. Yeah, that's really, really good evidence. Good call, Louis.
Giant swamp versus. Hey, that's a good idea. Give the video a like.
Yeah. Wow.
I did not expect this much of a difference. I thought this looked weird, but couldn't quite point my finger.
That's actually kind of fascinating that they put that in so early. Is that normally, and May, you've been playing this for a long time, is that normally what they do? Because it seems like, you know, like a World of Warcraft wouldn't allow you to see Shadowlands or you know, anything before the big patch. They wouldn't like change the landscape. Like that in. Wow. That's really fascinating, actually. I wonder why they put that in so early. It seems almost like they want people to know about it. You know what I mean? Super interesting.
It's a little bit curious of a point if they actually do this on purpose to give people a hint at what's coming up, because it does seem like a mistake that the like landscape would change so drastically before the update that's actually bringing the new content, the new zone, whatever. It does bring the suspicion that they are doing it on purpose to create some sort of hyper interest or just hints, maybe. Don't know. And this is getting a little bit trippy. We have like 4 face cams here. Screenshot of what it used to look like. So very clearly a giant mountain has just been deleted from Middle Earth. Now we get back to the regular commentary. Now my question is, why has this mountain been removed and the landscape significantly changed into like a zone shape if Standing Stone Games is not planning on adding a new zone there?
Interesting.
And I think that question and that idea is pretty strong evidence for why we are going west of Eregion and Endwaith for the next zone coming to the game. Yeah. Also, looking into the newly carved area,
did they say what the zone was going to be called?
We can also see what clearly looks like roads and different paths around the potential. Yeah, so let's hear its comments on the road.
This looks like a great place to drive chickens. Just for future channel content, this seems like that would be a
with the
solid
chicken running
driver spot.
There are a lot of interesting places you can
let's
go
make
with
sure we do
chickens.
that.
I will just say there's like no reason for zones if players can't travel on them, right?
Yeah.
So as far as I meant no reason for roads. I don't know why I said no reason for zones, but I meant no reason for roads. Because it is true, if you have roads, then there's no reason to have them if you can't travel on them. Same with zones, I guess. That still does apply. of the zone goes, it honestly like appears to extend very far west from where we can see, but that is actually not one part I'm too sure about, because that would be a really huge zone. And yeah, you can't see that far west, and this is where we get into some details about what we actually do know. I already mentioned that this zone is confirmed. I made a video on it. It's the Before the Shadow mini expansion, and the thing with this mini expansion is it is actually level 1 to 32, so it's not going to be in the warrior range. Well, I think I talk a little bit more about that later, but if not, I'll try to bring it up again. And it is actually a very massive region that does in fact extend all the way from South Bree, and that would be Southeastern Shire, all the way down to Innidoy. So it covers that huge swath of area. It extends up to Lonelands, Trollshaws. You can check out my video on it that has the actual details that we learned well after this video, which maybe it would be, but perhaps I think the looks might be deceiving from up here in Morroble. And something I didn't actually talk about in the video, because this was more like real leaks from the game data that I just didn't get into details on the video, is we actually did have some people data mine that some items were in the game, or rather were in the game data files, and they were hinting at like Cardalin and areas south of Bree, not just west of Eregion. So there were some extra hints that this actually would be a pretty large region between South Bree and West Eregion that I, again, did not actually cover in the video. If done in an ideal manner, I think this potential zone could extend from Inglamith Aethel in the north all the way down to Innidoith and essentially just run along west of Eregion. I also think it could be a great addition to potential greater plans to like finish out the southern greater plans portion of Eriador by connecting to go all the way. See, and that's basically what it does. I don't think the zone actually connects all the way to the Shire, but we don't have 100% details. This is even based on still leaks, a couple map leaks from Alpha. But from the Shire, with South Farthing being the connection, definitely from Southern Bree, Southeastern Shire down to Innidoy.
Harad, like a Haradrim area. Do you want the desert? I know a lot of people were excited about that, like the aesthetic of.
I realize he's stuck on Harad. I don't know if it's because of this totally different video that I made. This was in December, or if like somebody mentioned the video to him and they mentioned the Harad one rather than this update 34 video. But
the desert,
yeah, Harad would be exciting in the game. It's something I just have no idea with Standing Stone Games. There are a lot of potential areas. That's actually one thing about this video. Sorry to keep going back to it, but one thing with this video is I actually kind of wanted to go along with the idea of making this video for actually Brune, making it for Foradway, probably not quite as much, but Sea of Nirn, that would be it. Not Sea of Nirn, but Nirn, the area. So this was actually, I had the idea of making this a mini series of videos. It never did work out that way. So the point of this video wasn't to say Harad is like definitely the most likely, but other ones had reasons for them to be the next major region as well. We also have limited options, so it's kind of outside of Eriador, Rovanian, and Gondor. I mean, we aren't left with many options for the next major region like that. Anyway, let's get back to this.
I'm not a huge desert fan in video games, but I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about them.
Deserts and LOTRO could be
scary, because it seems like that could be really cool.
Well,
it even seems like they could be really cool to go like into the Far East where Sauron went whenever he was disembodied, where apparently the Blue Wizards went as well. That would be an interesting lore alternative. You know, they could really stick with the game in that way. That's really interesting. Let's see. I do agree that Moria looks great, but when you
I think this cat wants attention, but I do think actually east of Mordor could be interesting. So more as far as what I know about Lord of the Rings lore, a lot more uncharted territory for me. So that's of course exciting to just think about what it could be like.
Caves.
There's also, I believe, mountains. This might be like way east of Middle Earth, but there are also mountains way east of there. So I'd be curious if there are any other dwarf folk that we are not accustomed to in Middle Earth that could be explored there.
I do agree that
not that anybody's excited for dwarves after Legacy of Durin, Gundabad, and all the dwarf content lately.
Might be time for an alternative. But what Meme was saying before was actually really interesting, and it's true. I haven't had any game that I've ever played, maybe besides how World of Warcraft has done the time walking thing. I've never heard of another game before saying like maybe one zone isn't the best. Let's give a huge alternative to it. Like, that's really fascinating. Instead of, it's not even like taking it away, it's saying like you can actually just level through an entirely different zone. I don't know if that's unique to Lord of the Rings. I feel like that's unique to Lord of the Rings though. Like them adding it later. That's actually really fascinating.
Yeah, I personally have not seen that with any other MMOs I've played, not with World of Warcraft. He mentioned time walking, which of course is a little bit different because it's not like adding new zones for lower levels like LOTRO is doing. It's an interesting concept that fortunately worked out for them. Wildwood was the first region they did this way. It was level 45 region within Breland, and it was very positively received by the community, so they've kept doing it. Question is, have they oversaturated the low level content, especially coming up with Before the Shadow? I don't know, but interesting.
Did you chicken drive off of Weathertop? I did not yet, and that needs to happen. I don't know why I've waited. Make a video, top 5 places to chicken drive. I will do that. That's a good idea. Let's keep watching.
And having the South Road be complete from Fornos all the way down to Inadwaith. So if any of that speculation is the case, time will tell. So on top of all of that, we also do know that all new zones in 2022 will be sunny skies and not like darker. See, the thing about this is actually in June that I made the video, but what we knew about 2022 from 2021 was not actually quite the same as what we got. I believe Standing Stone Games talked about not like intending to expand in Eriador, yet they have expanded in Eriador, actually expanding, not just filling gaps. So it's kind of interesting, probably perhaps a shift actually from their initial design plans to what we are getting. Pressing like Minas Morgul and Gundabad, this is, something that has been confirmed and talked about by one of the sunniest guys though.
I love regions that are
really,
like
at least
really
that nice. I mean, Before the Shadow, that implies that it's not shadowy there, right? So that how that works. That this area would fit that criterion. Okay, cool. So given all of that information, and yeah, sunny sky zones, I agree with him that sunny skies are always great. Information and the drastically changed landscape, I think it is safe to assume that this is going to be the next zone. Yeah. As I mentioned, it would also be perfect for an alternative to Moria by covering levels 50 to 60, which if Standing Stone Games paid any attention at all to their player base, they would know this has been requested by players for many years now. Really? And now you all know why I was actually a little bit disappointed initially if you saw my early content on Before the Shadow when they officially announced the mini expansion. Why I was a little bit disappointed with the level range. This area would have been perfect for a Moria alternative, and just as I said in the video, it's been something that I have seen requested over and over and over again, especially with the addition of Wildwood in some of these lower level regions. It's just popped up a lot that people want Moria alternatives. I know some people like Moria, and that's great. Even nowadays, I enjoy Moria, but having an alternative to it would also be great.
Really?
Personally, I would be very excited for a Moria alternative as well, even though nowadays I kind of actually do like Moria. And actually, if you haven't checked it out yet, I had a very...
So it's fascinating. So the player base has been kind of craving against Moria for a while. Is that what he's saying? Is that accurate for you guys? Have you guys noticed that? Like,
I'm curious
people
what
been like,
his
yeah, Moria's too dark,
says.
It's not good enough, like the aesthetic's not very good. Like, has that been something that's been the case before? Maru says, I think Harad would be a good expansion, but not just a small region. Oh, okay, so this is...
Yeah, for Harad, it would have to be, I mean, that's a major area. It's big as, like, Rovanian. Depending how far down you go, I believe there's, like, Far Harad as well, and even Khand, which technically would be different than Harad, but I think that's far to the east, southeast of Mordor. But either way, it's like a region, Eriador size, Rovanian size, Gondor size.
It's like a small region update. Okay, I'm understanding now. Sorry, I'm so new to the game. Harad should be as big as Moria at least.
It would be, Harad would be, probably have to be split in 2 parts, and multiple expansions worth of content would be my guess for like the general size of it. I mean, you can just look at the map or look at the Stable Masters map to see relative size of Harad.
Least, but not as big as Rohan, but still.
Not as big as Rohan. I wonder if they're talking about Rovania, and one of his viewers in the chat is talking about Harad should be as big as Moria at least, but not as big as Rohan, but still big. I wonder if they're talking about a Harad zone or Harad as the broader region that is down south of Gondor.
Still big. Oh man, I can't wait to get to Rohan. That's gonna be really fun. Yeah, I agree with you.
Oh, at this point, he hadn't gotten to Rohan yet.
So this isn't like any sort of expansion.
Now,
this is just like a basic update.
The only odd thing about this update is it seems to go against what Standing Stone Games said was their plans last year, where they... Oh yeah, I forgot I actually talked about that in this video. I know I've talked about it a lot in this video, that it's gone against what it seemed like Standing Stone Games' plan was, so let's hear that. You mentioned it's like possible that they would have more non-level cap zones like Wildwood was the original one, and they weren't really planning on doing much in Eriador, expanding out from Eriador, and just generally like working on the west. But with that was a really weird pause. I don't mean to analyze my own commentary, but
and
just generally like that was just an awkward on the west cut. But with the angle of Methathel and Yondershire, both of those we had as non-level cap zones earlier this year, they somewhat go against that, at least being, as I mentioned, non-level cap zones and filling.
Well, and I think one thing for Standing Stone they're probably paying attention to is like what their viewers like. And if their viewers, if what he's saying is true, and people have been asking for non-dark zones for a while, desert locations in video games, if you notice, like there are some, but they can be pretty bland.
Yeah, deserts, especially if they like simulate the dustiness that a desert can be, like blowing sand, basically. It can be dusty and dark, so that is definitely true. A desert zone doesn't necessarily have to be bright, although it definitely could be. I mean, you can just have different styles, different themes. It really ultimately depends on how Standing Stone Games would implement it. I find this, I wasn't expecting this so much going into this video, but all the talk about Harad in the desert, it's bringing that back to me, and kind of interesting to hear about again.
Have to work really hard to make a desert zone work. Like I don't know if you guys can think of an example, but like I don't think...
With LOTRO being such a cluttered game, yeah, it would definitely be interesting to see how a desert zone would work in LOTRO.
I know of a lot of games that would say like the desert zone in the game, like an action RPG or like an MMO, is like a real highlight. I've never had Tanara Zone. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's true. There definitely are
somebody
some,
actually
but
mentioned that in
like,
this chat.
For the most part, you don't get a lot of that.
Badlands, that's perhaps a little bit different than pure desert, but it's definitely desert-like at the very least. Yeah, I think Badlands and WoW could be considered desert. Also had fun in that zone. Off the top of my head, I'm not really thinking of many others.
Which is fast.
Technically, Foragel, I believe, is described as a tundra endgame, even though the weather in it doesn't really match that, but tundra is just a frozen desert, really. And I love Foragel, so something to think about. That's totally different than the type of desert we're talking about here, though. And gaps in Eriador. So really, that may just mean that Standing Stone Games has changed their plans due to very positive reception with Wildwood and players loving filled in areas between zones already in the game, rather than like extending the zone network out and creating
in the region. Do you want some screenshots?
Gaps.
Yeah, sure, send them my way.
For me, I personally do enjoy these types of zones. Yes, I saw those presumably the same screenshots. I think they were on the LOTRO forums. To see where we go next and for like the next zone as far as... sometimes my transitions in the video, so like that was supposed to be a cross dissolve there, sometimes they don't quite go through and it's a little jarring. Zones after Gundabad are concerned.
I think what he's saying is good here.
That said, if there's no new level cap content at some point, it's probably going to get a little bit boring, and well, you know, not just probably, in my opinion, has, and it sounds like for other people that is the case as well. This was, of course, back in June, and I think even at that point it was starting to get stale to some people, so we're here 3 months later and still not going to have... We'll have some new level cap content, but no new level cap zone.
What he's saying is there's no new level cap content. I don't know if I disagree with Louis here, but like I think that if Standing Stone is doing what I think they're doing, just from like a strategic gameplay standpoint, you probably got most of the people that are at end cap, right? Like they're at end zone right now. They're probably locked in. You know what I mean? Like you're probably not going to get a lot of people churning over and quitting at 140. You know, like they've already done it. They've been there.
That is a good point with LOTRO. I think the way the game is, it does seem like not many people just like quit that are at endgame. It seems to be a game where a lot of people do create alts, but of course I can't know for sure what the numbers are, and really only Standing Stone Games knows that.
They're like, they could probably...
And now at this point, because they have admitted that they kind of dropped the ball with in-game content, I think that's even the phrasing used by, I forget exactly who, it is something that they are aware of, and perhaps they actually did take a little bit of a hit due to in-game just being stale.
Probably add a new raid or something like that, or a new dungeon. But I feel like if right now, Standing Stone's strategy has to be focused on the new player experience. You've got to focus on someone's first month in this game, and I think.
And see, that is a great point, because I do have to bring this up. I know some people have gotten tired about it, but with Rings of Power and potential interest driven to LOTRO from that, it is something that they are probably focusing a lot more on than endgame players that are likely to return whenever new content is added, or just stick around and make new characters or something like that, find other stuff to do in the game.
I think the fact that they're focusing on a level 50 area is really smart, actually. I think it's really...
Focusing on a level 50 area, not quite. Even newer player, like lower level player than that.
Smart, I think, because again, as you think about people coming in, let's just say that, you know, Moria is what I remember. Moria, from what I remember, is very like, it is very dark. It's very cramped. It doesn't like fit everyone's aesthetic. And you probably would get a lot of people who would get to level 50 and then be like, I don't really want to level 10 levels through Moria. I want to do some more bright.
That is a great point, Standing Stone Games.
Right,
you should listen.
Place. Like, I think that could be really, really interesting. I think that could be really, really interesting for them. So yeah, fascinating thing with Louis. I think I might disagree a little bit with him on that one. How long would it take to hit 140? Maggie, honestly, I don't know. I think May, that's a question for you. What do you?
I get that question too many times, and it really depends how much you play and what you do to level.
What do you think? How long does it?
Could take 20 years. It could take 2 months.
To hit 140.
Just have to see how Standing Stone Games balances that. Let me know what you all think about all this, and if you think this is enough evidence that the next zone will be west of Southern Aragian and Endoith, or at least, at the very least, will be added to the game in the next couple updates, perhaps.
Yeah.
And as far as this video goes, I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you all let me know that you agree.
Thank you,
consider liking and subscribing for more, or becoming a channel member to support the content. Hey,
Always.
subscribed. He subscribed to me. I just found out I'm not subscribed to him. Y'all better subscribe as well.
Subscribe. Always like it. Always like it. Thank you, Louis.
Ooh,
hey, you guys have
not good background music for the end screen there.
Louis,
I don't know exactly what that was, but it's
awesome.
different.
I really appreciate his content. In fact, his content was one of the ones that got me back into the game. So if you guys have enjoyed watching me, it's a lot because of Louis. So
I appreciate all these compliments from Brightlife here.
I think that's good, actually. I think it's a good thing that they're focusing on that 50 to 60 mark, especially if that's been a pain point for people before, because when September comes, and again, it kind of makes me think when September comes, the crowd that's going to matter the most to the survival of this.
But it's actually going to be a little bit later than September, and as I've repeated too many times, actually not level 50 range. But maybe in the future they will actually finally add a Moria alternative. But I know the most recent Q&A from Orion, he didn't seem too hopeful on there being a Moria alternative coming up soon.
This game is really going to be very important. It's going to be really, really important for them.
Also, I just realized this. I know this video has been going on for a long time, but it's nice to see somebody playing a Warden. Hopefully Brightlife is enjoying the class.
To grab that player base of like just jumping in, you know, and I would assume, you know, by the time you get through level 60, you've played through the original expansion. You've played through not only the original expansion, but you've played through, you know, a little bit of Moria or this new zone, and you're probably locked in at that point. You like the story enough, like it's a really fun place to do. I think that's really important, and so I'm glad that they're focusing on that. I think that's really smart. And Meme said this earlier. It just further emphasizes their desire for people to play in the world more than the dungeons and endgame, and I totally agree. I totally agree. I think that that's super fascinating. So these are apparently the screenshots in the zones, which is pretty cool.
Oh yes, those are screenshots that I have seen. They look at least very similar to some that were shared. I believe the LOTRO forums, but it could have been somewhere else or some Discord server.
It's a little bit like a foil to.
But yeah, there's Hobbit Village, and of course we have all this information a little bit more officially released now, and even more detailed leaks with it.
Now, the one thing that I've noticed.
My cat will let me. Let's try to watch the rest of this video.
Notice with Lord of the Rings Online, sometimes
there's the old Eriador map.
It's hard to know
Very
where
random.
to go. I know that when I hit like 38, I was like, where should I quest? And I only knew it because like I asked some people in the Discord or maybe someone in game. It's like, where should I quest?
That is a good point. I just made a whole leveling guide and to cover like the different zones by level, because the game is not clear on where you should go and even when you should go there, what level you should go there, how to start the quest there, different things like that. There's a little bit of an exploratory element that I suppose could be fun for some new people, but also it just seems to create a lot of confusion. I think the game could be a little bit better about introducing you to zones. It does have like the introduction to the zone quest, but I don't think those quite do it all the way.
And they said, hey, go to Numinous to grab another level before your next thing. So I think they've got to make sure that they make it really clear. But I am really encouraged about that. That makes me excited. Hey, thanks for watching.
I have no idea how far Brightlife has progressed. For some reason, I thought he was already past Rohan, but yeah, if he was excited for a level 50 alternative to go through on his character, unfortunately won't be able to do that. But I do want to say that I appreciate Brightlife making this video and reacting to mine. It's one of those types of things that just makes me, even for my very small channel, feel a little bit more established, at least as a LOTRO content creator. So I really do appreciate that, and it was nice to see. I know this was made a long time ago, like 3 months ago, and I'm just now getting to this. I briefly glimpsed at the video, it was actually way back in July, and made a comment, but now I'm properly getting to reacting to the reaction. But yeah, it's also just interesting to go back and look at an old video and see how things are different 3 months later. Now, I know this was different for my channel, but please do let me know what you thought about this video, as well as Brightlife's video, and maybe even the old video and how things have changed. And with that, if you all did enjoy this and perhaps maybe want content like this in the future, please consider liking and subscribing for more, or becoming a channel member to support the content. And thanks for watching, everyone.